What's going on, everybody? Let me get Chris Anderson out of my face. I had his picture up there on the screen. Chris, I meant Mike. My bad. Confused today, Jay. How you doing, my man?
All right, buddy. I'm all right.
You having troubles over there?
Yeah, I'm having an internet connection problem.
Oh, geez.
I'm sure hoping you're not sharing that.
I mean, it is what it is.
Because it's kind of detrimental to the whole setup.
No, we're good over here. We're good.
Good.
Getting used to the new studio. I mean,
Yes.
It's kind of weird talking across the table from you.
I know. I think I liked it better when I was sitting in another room, like miles away from you.
I mean, you were sitting in the closet for a while.
This is true. But then I came out of the closet and made it into a bedroom. Wait, should I have said it like that?
I don't know.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
You said it, not me, my man.
This is true.
Not
Hey,
me.
it's like my dad told me, you got to try everything before you know what you like.
It's going to be that kind of podcast tonight. I like it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in this evening. We got Mike Anderson and Kyle Van Leuven in the house tonight. We're going to be talking to them about Topwater Series, what they got going on. They're about to wind their season down, start their Topwater live podcast back up. But before we do that, I just want to give a quick shout out to all the folks that fished the Noobs tournament this year. We got the championship this month. We're going to do it kind of, if you guys aren't familiar with the Grassroots Bass Yakking Series, all the folks that made the Noobs Championship, they'll get to pick a day to fish over a week span. Best 5 fish. We're going to reign a Noob Championship. So shout out to all those guys. I know I posted up an image on the Paddle and Fin Facebook page just to kind of spread the word on those guys. I'll pull it up here on the screen. Thought I had that closed down. So shout out to Tom Schottler, Justin Staley, Doc Acosta, Nick Chaffman, Stephen Redfield, Josh Cravens, Christopher Wentz-Jansen, Craig Pitts, Bill Galeckus, Paul Gorley, Regina Jones, Randy Bean, Nick Nicrelli, Jeremy Rathbun, Chris Anderson, Michael Antonez, Josh Bolton, Kevin Rayner, Luke Coffey, Adam Chapman, Logan Ulmer. So shout out to those guys. That's going down. And then real quick, just an update. We got the meetup tournament on Dale Hollow Lake.
Yes, sir.
What's the date? October 17th is the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be down at Eastport Marina, down there in Tennessee. So if you guys want to come down, there is lodging available right there at the marina. Tournaments, it's just a cheap, fun tournament, guys and gals. $25. It's on Tourney X. Go ahead and get signed up. Eastport is giving everybody lodging at $50 a night per person. You get your own bedroom in a luxury houseboat. They're going to provide a dinner for us Saturday after the awards. It's going to be kind of a buffet style. I believe he said we're doing pasta. $1.75 draft beers.
That's all right.
Your eyes kind of lit up.
That's
there,
all right,
my man.
That's okay.
So we'll post this up. They're also doing sack lunches, $7.50 for anybody that wants a sack lunch before they get out on the water. Is that it? Is that all announcements? All the good stuff? I want to talk to these guys. You're holding me up, Jay.
Yeah, I know. I can't do two things at once. I'm having technical difficulties on my side. Now I'm just going to pretend like everything's working.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's get these guys in here. We got Mike Anderson, Kyle Van Leuven. Did I say that right?
What's going on, guys?
How's it going, fellas?
You said it right.
See, I'm not always a hack, bro.
I'm the hack. Remember? Come on, man. That's me.
Heck yeah, man.
That new studio looks great, fellas.
What's that?
That new studio looks great.
I mean,
Thank you.
You could see Jay's kind of slacking on stuff to go on the shelves there. I did add the on-air sign today. That just
He
came.
literally just came out of the closet, so let him catch his breath. Give him a minute.
You knew that one was going to bite you in the rear.
It's a lot of courage, man. National social media.
It's just one of those things. Anybody know? Just
is what it is.
Yeah, fishing.
Well, we had Mike on. We had Mike on for the Crossroads series, the little smack talk edition. And your guys did real well from the Topwater series, took second place. MKT was what, fourth, fifth?
I think they're a little bit further down the list.
Wow. I was trying to give them credit, bro.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Rough day all the way around with MKT. Just as far as mechanics go, a couple kayak malfunctions left everybody kind of scrambling, and they still put together a good showing, but I know it's not what they were hoping to do. But congrats to our Topwater guys. Came down there first time ever in a team type competition or atmosphere, and man, super proud of those guys. They went out and straight killed it on that new body of water for them. So couldn't have been more excited.
Heck yeah, man. It was interesting to see everything unfold down there. For the most part, everybody was catching fish, not lot of the, 13 to 15 inch fish, but there was some big ones caught down there. I know, I think big bass day 1 was 20 and a half and day 2 was 21. So
yeah,
there is some decent little greenbacks swimming around in that lake down there.
Oh my God, it was so much fun. I wish Kyle could have been down there with us and just seen what was going on. It's the first time I'd ever been not actually competing, but just sitting there watching the leaderboard and watching these guys, keep leapfrogging each other for a 2-day period, and just being able to watch that. It was so exciting to watch it, and I couldn't keep from not looking at the leaderboard every 10-15 minutes because it was going to be different. And that whole competition and the whole format was so much fun to be a part of. And gosh, I know everybody down there had so much fun and look forward to 2021 already.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. It was interesting. Like day 1, cell service down there was kind of spotty, and we were all in the pavilion, all the volunteers that were there, and it was like, oh, so-and-so just submitted 5. Oh, that's going to bump, this team up, and so on and so forth. And it was kind of interesting to see everything unfold, man. It was pretty cool, and everybody had a great time. And like I said, man, a lot of fish caught. I think there was like 200 and some fish the first day, and same thing the second day.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it was crazy amount of fish on that lake. It was a good pick, good body of water to hold a tournament like this, because everybody was able to go out and fish and catch some, put something on the board. So,
no, for sure, man, for sure. So, for guys and gals that don't know you guys, you guys run the Topwater series based out of Michigan. You also help run MKT as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
So why don't you guys give a little background on what Topwater is and MKT as well, man?
Mike, you want to take it away?
Take it away, Kyle.
All right.
Don't fight, boys. I don't want to have to separate you.
He likes to talk, so I
get excited.
I let him wear himself out, and then I start talking after a little while. But
he's like,
no,
me? Okay.
No, so Topwater, it's one of those things that we were talking before the show about grassroots fishing, and that's kind of what it came out of. MKT, I started helping out with them, I guess 2 years ago now, and phenomenal series, super well ran, but I fished all my life, but I really got into competitive fishing about 2 years back, and it was a little bit intimidating, and so the whole idea behind Topwater started about 1.5 years ago, and it was really just designed to kind of be like, hey, go out, fish with some friends for a few hours on a warm summer night, and then, go out for a beer and a burger afterwards and just make it fun and introduce people to the sport. And so we started out, had this just fun, I think it was like 12 event weeknight season for the first season, had a great time, made a lot of good friends. And then at the end of the season, we're like, well, what are we going to do now? And we had talked about, doing a podcast or something like that for a while. And pretty much. So like the kind of joke with the show is always that, if it wasn't for Mike, it would run occasionally every week sometimes, but Mike is kind of the guy that's on it. So he said, yeah, let's do it. We'll do it next Wednesday or next Tuesday or whenever it was. And we kind of ran from there and had a lot of fun, got people excited about it. So we're like, all right, let's expand the series. And then this year we did 4 different series around the state and just kind of having a lot of fun and spreading it out there.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, man.
You were dead on as far as the concept behind it was getting new anglers that were interested in kayak angling, but have never competed before, out on a water and more of a low pressure, style setup where it's not $100 entry fee and you're going to, launch Saturday morning at 6:00 and you won't be back till, 4 PM Saturday night, for check-ins. We wanted something that was a little bit quicker. Guys can go out, get their feet wet, fish in a quick 3-hour derby on a Tuesday or a Wednesday night. And instead of going bowling or instead of going and playing co-ed softball, let's go kayak fishing and maybe you win a couple $100 and go home with. And then we go have a burger and a beer afterwards, and it worked out great. Kyle said we started out with about 12 events. And after those 12 were over, we had made a lot of new friends, a lot of new connections. People still wanted to go fish. So I think we ended up tacking on, like 7 or 8 more events after those first 12. I think we ended with 20, 21, something like that at the end of our first year of just new anglers wanting to come out and hang out and compete on a Tuesday night. And then that spurred the podcast where we weren't ready to quit. We had so much fun all summer and fall. So what are we going to do during the winter time? And there wasn't any ice for us to go fish on last year. So let's just jump on a podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I know how that goes. We do those occasionally over here.
True. Very true.
We got a question in the chat from Mr. Matt Gibson. Kyle, what kind of beer are you drinking?
This is just apple juice.
Just apple juice, Matt. Sorry, bro.
No, I had an M43 and now I'm onto a 2-hearted. So.
Very cool. Christopher Culbertson says 5 fish in 3 hours on new lakes makes for skill sharpening season.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's tough.
Yeah, I bet, man. It's a very interesting concept what you guys are doing, and when you only got 3 hours to put 5 on the board, and you're not familiar with that body of water, it could make for a rough evening. I mean, you probably had a few heartbreaks throughout the season, right?
Oh yeah. Oh my God, yeah. But like Chris said, and what you said about it being an interesting concept, that's what we thought too. As far as it being something a little different, where we're fishing a different body of water every single event. Some of them are little lakes, some of them are ginormous lakes, and you're either going to fish shallow, or you're going to fish deep. You're going to switch up, your baits and what you're using. So it forced the anglers that were coming out consistently to adapt and learn and study maps and study the lakes and figure out, things that they normally wouldn't have necessarily thought of just fishing the same old home base lake, every time they go out. It forced them to learn. So in a sense, it made everybody a better angler at the end of the season. You tried so many different things, and the angler camaraderie with everybody was the best part about it. Is everybody's willing to share and to learn, and hey, this worked for me, and here's 3 of them. Try them next time you're out here. That kind of thing, and it really helped everybody out.
That's interesting, man. So, like, how far away are these events from each other? Like, you're doing them on a weeknight. Like, are you trying to keep like each stop like within an hour drive radius or something like that? Or
yeah, I'd say most of them are within about an hour drive. But it's we kind of try to keep them central to an area. But it's interesting because like Culbertson, who just jumped on there and commented, he came to one of our events on the west side of the state, which was a 2-hour drive. And last year, in our first season, we only had him on the west side of the state. So there was one gentleman, Galloway, that came out to most of our events, and he had to be a 2-hour drive from every one. So we try to keep them close, but there's guys that, if you're on the south end and, the closest one might be a half hour, but the furthest one could be an hour and a half away. And guys make the drive even on weeknights.
I like it.
Yeah. This year was a lot easier on our anglers. Last year, like we said, we only had the one set series, and it was West Side, Michigan, pretty dominant. And then going into this season, we had anglers traveling from every part of the state. So we tried to make it a lot easier by separating ourselves into 4 different divisions of the state and essentially created our league series, like a bowling league, but this is kayak leagues on a weeknight for 3 hours. And we had our Northwest and our Southwest and our Northeast and our Southeast regions. And that worked a lot better. I feel like we still had really nice angler turnout on a Tuesday night, especially our Southern regions. It was nothing for 35 anglers to show up on a Wednesday night to go out for a 3-hour shootout, and yeah, it's amazing.
I like it, man. It reminds me, I used to fish a night tournament. They do it every other weekend on a Saturday night going into Sunday morning. Super clear body of water in Wisconsin, but it was like a league, man, like you're saying. And I know there's like a few lakes in Wisconsin, but they'll have a tournament like every Wednesday or every other Wednesday or something like that, but they're always on the same body of water. So the fact that you guys are able to kind of change that up and still hit different bodies of water, I think it helps, right? Because it gives everybody a chance to fish their own style of water they prefer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It forces people to change and adapt and mix things up. And, I like the idea of fishing that same body of water multiple times, because you can go out and have never fished there before. And maybe you learn a couple things, and then you can go back out and get redemption,
sure.
Or maybe you heard something or you saw something that worked, and you can go give that a shot next time you're there. With this format, out of, let's say, the 30 people that are out there, maybe 3 or 4 have ever even been on this body of water before. For the large amount of people, they've never been there. They've never pre-fished it. They're showing up blind, just what they've done, through map study and online reading. But other than that, they're flying blind. So you got to force yourself to learn and read up about that body of water before you arrive. And some people like me, I don't look at a map. I just kind of show up and it shows.
Yeah. Yeah, tonight I didn't do so good. Maybe I should have looked at that map a little bit.
I think we would make good opponents.
Jay doesn't like to do that either. He just shows up.
I'm more there just for the atmosphere.
Me too.
Are you one of those guys that like you're fishing with your buddy and he's slamming them and you're not catching anything, and then your buddy's like, "Hey, bro, this is what I'm throwing. Here, I'll even give you some of the baits." Are you like, "No, I'm good with this," and you'll keep throwing the same thing?
No. I've got a pretty funny story. So Kyle and I were at a tournament together, and we had a game plan. And Kyle had been out there before, I think, and so he goes right to a spot, and I'm 100 yards away from him, and I'm just having a terrible night. There's like a half hour left in this tournament, and Kyle already limited out long ago, and so I cruise over by him. I was like, "Dude, what are you throwing? Like, what is working for you? Because I haven't had a bite since I've been here." And he's like, "Here." And he shows me the drop shot that he's using. He actually throws a package of it over to me. He shows me the jig that he's using. He's like, "Here, do it exactly like this. Here's the bait. You can have my spot." So he leaves, and I sit exactly where he had just been pulling these fish out every night. I didn't get a bite the rest of the night. It's like, come on, man. Something's got to get one of these times.
It's kind of fun because it's very humbling. Like that tournament there that he's talking about, I had one of my best tournaments and was having a blast. But then the next week you'll go to a whole nother lake, and because you're jumping around, a lot of times there's a local guy that'll be coming out to give it a try, and that's his home lake. And he's out there in a $200 kayak. He kicks everybody's butt. and takes home top prize, and you're like, it's a humbling experience for sure.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Well, Jay, we'll be fishing, and I'll pull in like 5 18-inch bass, and I'm like, shaky head, bro. Here, you want some?
Do you,
and
do you even hear that? I'll just pull up like 5 18-inch.
I'll throw the worm into his kayak, and he never even uses them.
I have faith in things I have. There are days they kill. There are days they don't.
The days that don't are more often than the days they do.
I don't know what he's talking about. Those fish want my lures, bro.
Keep telling yourself that, my man.
It's funny that you'll have something that works out real well, and even if it only worked one time, but it like remains in your arsenal for the rest of the season, you're throwing it 50% of the time because one time it did good.
Right? Yeah, because it works. I mean, technically, it still works. I mean, I think we can all agree.
You just have to have the stars aligned at the right given point in time.
Yeah, I just suck at decision making. As far as like what color to change to, or just how often to change. I'm just so lazy. Generally, it's like I tell everybody, I show up, with like 6 or 7 rods. That's what's fishing the whole day. I have enough faith in that, and if those strike out, well, it just wasn't meant to be.
I can see that.
I've had that formula has worked like 2 times.
2 times,
but it's worked. It's worked. That's what's important. It's worked.
That's true, man. I'm not going to discount
it's
that.
Like percentages are low, but it worked. It worked.
Mike told that story just a minute ago, and we actually went back to the same lake this year. I took the exact same bait, went back to the exact same waypoint, sat there the entire night, never gave up, and caught 1 fish, and came in pretty much dead last.
It's crazy how that all pans out, right? It's always the comfort thing, or the confidence thing, I should say, not comfort.
Right.
We just get so confident in a spot or a bait, and it's so hard to steer away from that, and even in a tournament scenario, but I know I've personally had those days where like I will tie up everything I have, and if you guys have ever seen my kayak with gear in it, it's pretty ridiculous. I'll end up with like a mound of baits in the front of the kayak, and you still strike out. You know what I mean? So it's just it's one of those things. Just stay with your
really bad habit at that. I mean, every time I go out, and it doesn't matter if it's for a 3-hour shootout or an all day or a 2-day event, I load that stinking kayak up like it's the back room at Tackle Warehouse. So I may use the same 2 pulls the whole time I'm out there. I've got 12 of them on the back of the kayak, and I'll use the same because it worked last time. So it's got to work this time, right? And I'll just keep trying it till it just dies.
I was just going to say a perfect example of that was Kentucky Lake.
Yeah.
Like we bring all, we brought a good amount of stuff, not as much as usual. And just like usual, freaking Ned rig was all we fished. And like, so and it's like, once you find that sweet color, which I have been doing better at, by the way, I changed a little more often than I did before. I mean, it's just funny. Like, you're bouncing off one another with the colors and then also the profiles. And it's just nuts how they kill.
Well,
like,
the funniest part about it is like the first day we go out, we each have like 6 or 7 rods rigged up, we figure out it's a Ned rig bite. And the next day, well, what are you fishing? Oh, the Ned rig. But you still throw 6 or 7 rods and 50 pounds of gear in your kayak, which is just, I don't know.
Well, it's you know what though? You always throw those first because you're going to go right back to the Ned rig. It just always happens. I actually have 2 rods with 2 different kinds of Ned rigs on them usually now, just because I'm like, I know the day's going to end like this, so why even avoid it? Why try to deny yourself? Just give in. It's okay,
right?
Oh man, I love it. Tim DeSmit is in the chat. He said spinnerbait, jerkbait, and wacky worm. His top 3. I like it. That's a solid lineup.
I never use the spinners, man. I know I should throw some more spinners, and I just never do.
It's getting to be that time of year, man. Fall
spinnerbait spinnerbait season, man.
Yeah,
they are feeding. These fish are nuts right now.
Yeah. Well, especially up here in the north. Well, you guys are in the north. What am I talking about? How cold is it over by you guys right now?
Oh, mid-40s today.
Yeah, I'd say mid-40s. It hailed for a little while today.
Dude.
Rained, hailed.
Sounds nice.
Yeah.
It was a crap day. Opening a archery season, so everybody was out in the woods today.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I had a few friends out there as well, and who was I messaging earlier? They were up in a tree stand as well.
Yeah, it's
They're
opening day out
Don't
here.
bother me. I'm in the tree stand. I'll call you later.
I'm going out. I'm going to probably go out Saturday morning, I think. That's the earliest I can go.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
They'll
Oh,
be
Saturday.
there.
Ooh. Yeah. Yes, the day just got better.
You got an elk back there, don't you, Mike?
Yeah. I got that guy out in Colorado a couple years ago.
I like it.
It's kind of small. I actually just saw
packing that sucker out. That's for sure.
Yeah. I just saw a picture of some guy with like some big old head, man. The antlers were just crazy huge. I was just like, that's why I just know that's kind of, I mean, I've never gotten
luckiest
one.
shot ever.
Yeah. How long of a shot?
How long of a shot do you think that was?
Well, I think he tried to register it with his rangefinder.
I had a
like
laser
yards.
on it that went up to 300 yards, and the laser wouldn't pick up the spot. But I would say 350, somewhere around there. But I shot it. It was on a gallop, and I don't know how much time we have to invest here, but really, last day of the hunt, early morning, the sun's coming up, and I'm drinking a grape juice on the side of a mountain, and it sounds like a Mack truck, driving through the woods. And it was 3 of these guys that had jumped off a cow pasture on private property and was headed up to state land on this little mountainside out in Colorado. And man, I aimed and led for the lead bull, and I think I shot the back bull, and I got him in the kneecap, and he continued to run up another couple hundred yards up the side of the mountain. And oh my God, the chase was on at that point. Left everything on this rock ledge and slid on my ass down the hill and just started running up this mountain valley until I could find him. And oh my gosh,
that sounds wild.
Glory days when that happened. It was amazing.
I got a story similar to that, but it wasn't me personally. It was Scotty Purrs.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Mr. Purrs.
He's a savage. He was up north deer hunting. Last day, they're packing up the truck. Hasn't seen a deer the whole week. Sees one. Stalks into the woods. Goes to shoot what he thinks is the big doe. Ends up shooting the fawn. Blows its front legs off because he missed. This is an old guy. He's got a hard time seeing. I'll give him that. But yeah, so needless to say, all I can say for the rest of the story is he said deer with no front legs run really fast.
That's so bad.
I'll finish it later off air. But,
Facebook's going to censor us now. Censor us now. That's it.
But getting back to Topwater Series, we got a little sidetrack there. So, what are you guys looking forward to for 2021? Are you guys expanding? You building? What can you tell us? Man?
Always trying something new, that's for sure. With MKT's success over a number of years now, and the turnouts that they get on these tournaments, with the exception of this year and COVID, limited a lot of our out-of-state anglers from traveling. And we have a huge fan base and following in Ontario with Richard Offner and Tim Percy and those guys and their Ontario kayak group. None of them could cross the border this year, so it was a mess. So moving into next year, expansion's always on the mind, and fishing more tournaments is always something that we want to do without burning the anglers out. So we've spent a lot of time, putting focus on that is, how much more do we want to do? Last year we ran, I don't know, maybe 20, 21 events. And this year we were, more closer to 70, 75 events, so how much more do you really want to do? But something that worked really well for us as far as, attendance and getting new anglers out on the water, which is, like I said before, that's what we're really going after, is to get the new people out on the sport, that grassroots kind of movement,
Yeah.
So possibly expansion of the league series into different parts of the state to make it more feasible for guys and gals to get out of work at 5:00 and still make it to an event, within an hour's drive of them, and get them home in a decent time too. So we're looking at some different areas of the state. We've had a lot of people reach out and want the format to come to their neck of the woods. So, I think that's something we're definitely going to look at. But who knows, man? Sky's the limit. We've got a really good group of tournament directors that jumped on board with us this year and did a phenomenal job in all their different regions. And, we couldn't hold all these tournaments without awesome, boots on the ground, and the tournament directors that we have in place, they're just phenomenal. So, next year we're going to ask even more of them as we look to add more events to the schedule too. So we'll have to talk to them and get their thoughts on moving forward. But I'm excited for 2021. A lot of things in the works. So, I'm excited to see where this goes.
Well, we got a question in the chat here from Chris Jonch. I think that's the right way to pronounce his last name. I always feel bad, man. I'm horrible with names. But he says, with the Mayo, if for folks that don't know, Mayo is ending their club after this season. Is that going to help expansion for Topwater? You can plead the fifth. I mean,
I don't know. Well, honestly, I don't know. Like I said, who knows what 2021 is going to bring. Let's use this year for an example. We were all geared up to start our season back in early April and or mid-April and kick off the MKT schedule, and Topwater soon to follow. But with the pandemic hitting us, we were scrambling to push the schedule back until we were, allowed by government to have gatherings of a certain amount that we could go out. And what we did to kind of sidestep that this year was why we were still under quarantine and we could only have groups of 10. Kyle came up with a great idea, and we started running quarantine tournaments where we could, first 10 anglers to sign up. That's the 10-man field to go out and compete. So we ran a bunch of those tournaments. Those were a blast. And finally, we were able to move into our regular schedule. And MKT tournaments, we always have a cap on those tournaments of 100 anglers, and we'll sell out in 24 hours. But this year numbers were about half that. We were down to the 40-50 angler range, all due to the pandemic. And I think people just playing it, a little closer to home, with the travel and the hotels and stuff like that. So moving into 2021, I don't know how much that's going to affect the season, where our anglers from Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Wisconsin, Ontario, Canada, I don't know how much travel they're going to be, able to do, or how much the anglers, if they're able to do it, how much they're going to be willing to travel. And, look for lodging and stuff like that as compared to other years. Gosh, man, it's so hard to say. I don't know. Yeah. But as far as expanding, I don't know. We had definitely, we're all friends, all of these groups, and we know Todd Patrick, and we know all of the tournament directors very well for Mayo. And, we've talked to them a couple times over the last couple weeks about what's going on and what's going to happen in their neck of the woods. And if there's a void there that anglers want to compete and go out, then we would most definitely be happy to, set up tournaments and run tournaments there and help them facilitate that need to go out and fish. And, Northern Ohio is an amazing place to go out and bass fish. So I would hate for that opportunity to get missed. So
right.
If we don't, I hope somebody does.
Speaking of MKT, Tom Mullins is in the house. He said Mike and Kyle do a phenomenal job. It feels good to be retired.
Tom tells me every other day that he is going to retire, and then he comes in and complains that we're doing something wrong. So he comes out of retirement real quick. I think the way that the Topwater is kind of set up, when it comes to expansion and all that kind of stuff, is really everything we've tried to do is basically just to kind of build the system. And from there, it doesn't, we could want to run a million tournaments. We can't. It all depends on the tournament directors who wants to get involved. And it's not about us trying to grow huge or gain anything. We operate at a loss. It's trying to build something and put the system out there so that, again, if guys in Ohio want to work with us to be able to run a series, and we can make it easier on them by automating a lot of the stuff and kind of making it more exciting and maybe bringing in some sponsors and giving some cool championship opportunities, then everybody wins, So it's really kind of depend who's out there, who wants to step up, because, we talked about, angler burnout, but there's also, tournament director burnout. I'm pretty much in full burnout mode for the last month here. And so it's like, we can't take on anymore. It really is all who wants to step up, and we're happy to work with anybody that really just wants to grow the sport.
That's cool. I love it, man. I know I saw Matt Gibson in here. He helps around IKA, and he said 2020 was a real challenge, to say the least. Oh, yeah. And I know just, Illinois is not any better, but, Michigan had some real strict restrictions on out-of-staters coming in for a while there. I know one of our hosts, JP, he's got his family's got a place in Michigan, and he couldn't even go there and travel and visit for a while. So I mean, how is that now? Like, has the governor restricted some of those restrictions where people can now come in out of state, things like that? Or are you guys still totally on lockdown? I haven't been paying attention, so
no, it definitely opened to out of staters. But the national or the international border with Canada, that's still not open unless for special privileges. So a lot of those Ontario guys that we usually fish with, we weren't able to fish with them at all this year. So, which was a huge bummer. They have such a great group over there. So for us to miss out an opportunity to fish with those guys, that was a big bummer. But for the most part, everything's pretty much open. We, like everybody else, we have the mask, at all times. School, face-to-face schools just opened back up today. A lot of kids went back to school today for the first time. So things are starting to slowly open back up. So I don't know if we're still limited to numbers of people in gatherings. Last time I looked, we were at 50 or something like that. So kind of the same rules we were abiding by just this past weekend down at Crossroads, with the amount of people we had there, trying to split people up into small groups, keep them separated. We kind of ran like that all season long. When we were doing our check-ins and stuff like that at tournaments, for the most part, everybody kind of social distanced themselves, but we never felt like we were in an unsafe environment or anything like that throughout the season. So it didn't really affect us too much once we were able to, once the number of people restrictions were lifted, then we could start running our tournament series as normal.
Yeah, we got delayed till probably mid-June.
Mid-June.
And then after that, everything was fine. So, but
yeah, we missed about 3 months, I think. And it was just trickle down effect. We had some really cool things scheduled this year that we weren't able to do. This was going to be the first year for our youth series. Nice. Where we were going to give the youth their own kayak competition format,
a way for them to start their careers.
Yeah, exactly.
That's an inside joke. We'll get to that. I'm
going to show him that later. But yeah, that was kind of the idea. You see so many people out with kayaks, and if you're 12, 13, 14 years old, chances are, it's not in a Hobie or, an Old Town AP or something like that. They're in their Walmart or Dunham Sports Special. But I always see kids out on a campground on a kayak with a fishing pole. And, sure. I never see them out there with a life jacket on and, how to use a net, how to use a measuring board. They all know how to use a phone. So we've had some younger anglers come out and compete with us. And my son Hunter, he's only 12. He came out to a handful of tournaments this year, and he loved it. And I know there's other kids out there that are in the same boat, but not a lot of 12-year-olds are going to come out and compete with a bunch of grown adults in a kayak tournament until they're older and feel more comfortable. So we wanted to kind of give them their own format as youth. And we partnered up with a couple other companies like Teachin' Fishin' here in Michigan, a great program where they were going to come out and instruct the kids for about an hour. And then we were going to do a safety demo about properly fitting life jackets and demo a kayak roll and stuff like that, and teach them what to do if you ever flip that kayak. And then for the last portion of the event, have them go out and compete in a short 2-hour, winner take all kind of tournament, and teach them a little bit about catch, photo, release. And so that, hopefully we can keep introducing new anglers to the sport at a younger age. So it's got that constant flow of new anglers showing up at these events and wanting to compete.
That's cool, man. I like that. I really like that a lot. I mean, you're seeing more and more of those youth divisions pop up around the country, especially down in the Southeast, Georgia, Alabama.
Yeah, Georgia, that was one of the big reasons why I wanted to get into that is, a lot of high schools, especially up in our area, a lot of high schools have their own bass team.
Yep.
But they're all bass boat, teams. There aren't any high school kayak teams or anything like that anywhere up here. And I know Georgia and a couple other places down south started introducing kayak fishing to a high school, the high school athletics. And, I think seeing that movement, if we could start something like that up here with our youth series and getting kids interested in kayak bass fishing, and maybe seeing more high school, kayak clubs and stuff like that open up here, I think that would be amazing. And so I think that was a little bit of, behind it as well, trying to get something like that established up here to see if we could get it to that next level.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome. I love it. So Mike's son, Hunter, was at Crossroads this past weekend. Super cool kid. He was over fishing right off the shore. He came back over and he's like, I just lost the biggest fish of my career. So that was the joke all weekend. I was like, so how's your career going, man? And I asked him for his autograph 5 times. He never gave it to me. I was so pissed, But he told me I had to pay for it. I was like, shit, this kid knows what's up, man. He's already an entrepreneur, man. And so Mike's been teaching him well over there in Michigan, But super cool, man. It was great to see him. I think that was the best thing that I took away from the weekend, right? Like the camaraderie and all the anglers that came together, the different clubs working together over the weekend, but seeing the excitement on that young man's face about the whole tournament all weekend long. And he was just so excited to be a part of that. I mean, that was super cool, man. It gives me hope, for the future, So it was super cool, and I really hope he sees or listens to this, man, because it was super cool, man. I know I kind of ragged on him a little bit about his career, but I told him he's got plenty of time to build his career up. But just seeing the excitement, dude, and I think if you guys can get that going over there, that youth division and all the the proper education for these guys. So, you're not reading about them in the newspaper, because they flipped over, didn't have a PFD. I mean, that's so huge. And especially not only the youth, but, a lot of the new anglers coming into the sport now. Like we all know with COVID, kayak shops sold out of kayaks, a lot of new people getting into the sport. I'm sure we've all seen people launching at the ramps this year with no PFDs on or in their boat or whatever. And it's just super important to educate, man.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying, I keep seeing this guy. We were just talking about it before we came on. There's this guy in the Illinois Fishing Bandits. So if you're listening to me, he is catching some killer fish. He's doing a great job, but he always just never has a PFD on. And I know he's in some sketchy little areas. I mean, the rivers are running kind of low, so it's not like a huge danger, but I mean, it still exists, but I mean, he is killing it out on this water. And the only thing I ever see is no PFD.
Yeah.
And he's holding a pike, and I'm like, look at the pike. I'm like, look at, and I'm like, but he's doing good. So I'm not going to call him out personally. I'm just like, dude, just put on a PFD. Just put on a PFD, dude. Just put on a PFD.
Well,
yeah, we'll all feel better.
Behind that whole movement, was to spend 2/3 of the time at that event teaching safety protocols, the do's and the don'ts, and the what ifs. What if you're out there with your, you got your little tackle box and a couple poles with you? What happens if that kayak rolls? At 12 years old, that what goes through that brain? So let's teach them in a safe environment now, and then from here on out, when I was a kid, and I remember when I went into junior high, we had to take hunter's education and we had to take boater's education. Mm-hmm. There was no such thing as kayak education. And, for a lot of these youth entering the sport, and like you said, with COVID and everybody being at home, you couldn't find a kayak, for a couple months. Everybody and their brother was out buying kayaks because that's the only thing you could go out and do. And we saw a lot more youth out on the water this year, and it always peeved me when I'd see them out there and there's no life jacket, and they've got a couple fishing rods in the kayak with them, and they're all sit in thin plastic kayaks with the rounded hull, which are just the worst. And I wanted to teach the safety aspect of it. So
well, there's this other element too. You're seeing kids out there and younger people, and so here's the thing, when people get bikes now they get helmets. If you get a skateboard, you're getting pads or helmets. Pads are uncool, but I mean, if you're wearing a helmet at skate parks and everything, and then why wouldn't anybody want to kind of
your PFD is your helmet?
Especially when you can just go to Menards and pick one up for like $40.
Yeah, right.
Which is a solid. Like those Onyx ones are like $40 to $50.
Yeah.
It's too expensive, but you're investing in your life. So
yeah, exactly.
And when you start wearing that, it's just like anything else. You don't even remember you're wearing it, and then now you're like, when you don't wear it, you're like, oh, I feel naked, like something's wrong, something's off,
right.
Right. So it's not, I don't know why anybody just wouldn't get used to it.
Yeah.
I think it's a lot too, like Mike says, just education. Because
when
I first got into kayak fishing, I was guilty of it. I looked up, I'm like, all right, I gotta have one with me. So I stuffed it down in my little sit-in kayak, and away I went. And
shame on you, Kyle.
Yeah,
I know I'm a horrible person, but
well, it's kind of like too. I always tell that story about like Steve Carroll on the Snake River, in November, and he's in a dry
Idaho,
suit, and he went over in a second. And I'm like, if you didn't have your PFD on and it was in front of you, I can tell you right now, you never would have had time to get it. It happened so quick.
Yeah.
It happened in the time that I said his name.
Yeah.
That's how quick it happened. Because I saw it start happening. I was like, Steve, by then he was already over. It was done. So I think that's really the lesson that needs to be taught. It's like, you think you're ready, but you're not.
Yeah.
You won't see it coming.
Even our very own Tom Mullins, who chimed in a minute ago. A guy who's been in and out of his kayak a million times, and he's got his kayak at the dock, and he's stepping down into the kayak, and it just goes. He was at the dock, and it was one of those things you never think of, and it just happened that fast, even for a super experienced angler. So, blink of an eye, and it's sideways.
Tom went swimming like 4 times this year.
You might have an equilibrium problem. See your doctor right after this.
I had a little incident, a couple weeks ago, and I've never fallen out of a kayak, but granted, was going down the Whitewater
That
Park.
was way different, yeah.
But that happened so fast, dude. I was just like, what happened? And I'm trying to recall, why did I fall out? Was it all the water that rushed into my kayak? Was it me deleting too far?
Yeah,
was it, you just don't even know. But I think it was my BFD on.
I think it was funnier too, because I went first, and then I saw him go over, and I'm like, maybe this was a bad idea. And I was like, and we're fully geared up, and I'm like, and I'm not afraid to admit that. It's like whatever. Live life on the edge, man. Scare yourself whenever you can.
Sometimes you got to take risks to get to the fish. You know what I'm saying? That's what it all boiled down to. But it does happen quick, dude.
That's right. But he had his PFD on.
Lost my sandals.
Yeah, he did lose his feet.
Had to drive home barefoot, hour and a half. Sucked. But because you lose your sandals, what are you going to do? You don't have a spare pair of shoes. You can't walk into a store without shoes on. So I was like, I'm screwed.
Was it the better part of that was you had to get out of where we were onto jagged rocks?
Yeah, that was brutal.
Just to get somewhere better.
That was brutal.
He's like, here, will you take my yak? I'm like, I didn't fall in the water. This is on you, buddy.
Oh, that's funny. What's my fault? Guilty as charged.
That's awesome.
But Tim DeSmit says Tom just loves to swim. Shots fired.
I love
it. I love it, man. So you guys are going to fire up the podcast here in a couple weeks, huh?
Yes, I believe it is October 28th. We'll be going live down from, we've kind of got one fall event, Cold Water Classic or our Fall Classic. We'll be going live from down there. And then the following Wednesday, I believe it's the 28th, we're gonna fire the podcast back up and bring that back. And then hopefully next year we'll kind of keep it going throughout the season. We're hoping to broadcast most of our weeknight tournaments are Tuesday and Wednesday nights. So we're actually hoping to broadcast while those are going. So we have updated scores and all kinds of fun stuff there.
Oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool. Especially because it's not going to be during any of our shows. So
that's right. Yeah. Yes.
It's hard not to step on another podcast toes anymore, man.
Dude, you know,
Randall and Ben has a podcast on like 24/7. It's hard. You can't even compete with that.
Hey, bro. It ain't easy being cheesy, let me tell you. You think running tournament series is hard? Try running 13 kayak freaks talking about kayak fishing 7 days a week.
Oh, I believe it.
Man, it's cool. I love seeing all the different aspects coming into the scene. I mean, the way I look at it is, the way I interpret something, the way you interpret something, or Jay or whomever, somebody's going to relate to it. And I think it's just going to help educate, like we were just talking about, grow the sport, and just, make people have that much better of a time out on the water. So
I totally agree with you. We were talking about this before the show started, about that grassroots movement, and sure, all of us more or less just interested in getting people out on the water and having a good, safe time. And can, for the guys that want to take it serious, you can take it as serious as you want. For the guys who want to come out and have a good time and meet some cool people and, experience a local tournament, you've got that, open for you as well. So all these different podcasts shedding light on all these different aspects of the industry and this sport, I think it's amazing, and I think it truly helps, continuously spreading the word about this sport, which has got to be one of the fastest growing sports in the nation right now.
I think it still is. Yeah. We had a huge boost from Corona this year, but that was both good and bad. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It grew so fast and it got so many people out on the water so fast that, again, missed that education point level. But at the same time, I think, we had a conversation amongst our group of hosts, and I've talked to a few people about it too. I think next year, if we do get back to some kind of normalcy, travel is not as scary. The virus is not as scary. I think you're going to really see the grassroots club levels, at least, get a huge boost in number of anglers participating, because a lot of people spent a lot of time on the water this year because they couldn't go on vacation, go to a ball game, a concert, whatever it may be. And they really fell in love with the kayak fishing. Mm-hmm. And I think now people are going to look at, they're starting to look, just looking at our podcast numbers. We've had, from April 1st to, 2 weeks ago, we had 100,000 plays in 6 months. And that's just on podcast platforms. Right? That's not Facebook Lives. That's not YouTube. That's not all the other stuff. So, that's kind of crazy, right? That's some of that is natural growth, right? Don't get me wrong. But I think there's a lot of people that are intrigued by it, and they're starting to come in, and they're finding the Topwater Series, Chad Hoover's videos, Robert Field, Mike McKinstry, Paddle and Fin, and they're curious. And I think it's going to be cool. I think next year is going to be killer. If we can get some kind of normalcy back. I think I saw a news headline pop on earlier, some state today, fully opened because they've been down in cases. But they're talking about with winter and stuff like that. That might be a boost. If I had to guess, it's Florida.
That I was just going to say that, because Florida is like leading in everything right now.
right. But I just hope
I agree with you guys. I think you're going to see a boost continue. Oh, the dogs just came in. You're going to continue to see a boost, not only at the local level, but you're also going to see a boost at that national level too. I'm looking at KBF national championship qualifiers. I think the state of Michigan last year had around, 25, 30 qualified anglers to go to the NC last year. And this year we had over 65, 70. And I know for the large majority of us, we were all geared up, ready to go down to the NC earlier in the year until it was postponed. And then, a lot of those numbers I dropped off for sure out of that group. But I think we've seen a huge influx of this year due to COVID of the local series. And I think those guys you'll continue to see keep coming back out. And then, a feeder system into those national trails like KBF and the Hobies. And Kyle and myself, we were all geared up. We were going to make a couple of the Hobie events this year, and just decided to shut all the out-of-state extracurriculars down until just this past weekend, which felt, pretty safe. But I think you're going to continue to see that expansion of angler attendance at both levels, the locals and the nationals. I think we're just going to keep all these local trails do such a great job, especially here in the Midwest. There's so many. The Crossroads is a great example. All those clubs that were there are such well-represented clubs that have their own really good base and following of anglers, coming out and competing, that we're just going to keep trickle feeding those bigger clubs, as anglers get more confidence and get better and, want to go out and compete and spend that, higher, registration fee to compete, looking for those big payouts. I think, it's something we're just going to keep seeing grow here for the, for the time being.
No, I totally agree, man. I mean, we sponsor some of these local clubs and, send them some giveaway stuff. And, not only that, but the guys on, our Reel Down segment on Monday nights, they cover all the tournaments coast to coast. And, they highlight a lot of the big national events, but not only that, they're going through Tourney X and they're like, dude, there are so many clubs. Like it's hard to give them each a piece of the pie. He's like, the guys over there, Dan and Jimmy, they're like, dude, if we named off every club that fished this weekend, like our show would be 3 hours long, but they try to give highlight to each different region in the country, at least touch on one club in each different region, which is really cool. And it's cool to see that, and that was one of my goals with that whole segment. When we sat down and talked, I'm like, look, dude, like it can't just be like all the clubs in your area, can't be all the clubs in my area. We got to spotlight everybody, dude. Everybody needs a spot to shine. And I think they've done a really good job on that. But I felt like I was sounding like President Trump there for a minute. That was weird. Sorry. Damn debate still in my head. What a joke that was. But it's one of those things, man. It's important. It's important for the community and to help us all out. Like we talked before the show, man. You're like, that's one thing you guys pride yourself on is working with some of the other clubs in your area, so your guys aren't stepping on toes, man. So it's cool to see that. The camaraderie goes even past the guys hanging out after the tournament. It's stretching further than that, which is great to see.
Oh yeah, it absolutely does. This past year, we ran a couple tournaments in conjunction with, we worked with Mayo for an event. We worked with the Upper Peninsula Kayak Angler Club for a UP event, and of course MKT. And it's so cool to work with these other clubs because you bring in, other anglers that you may not have seen, but it also adds more to the pod. It adds more exposure to the sport when you've got, 4 clubs advertising the same event and showcasing it, across social media. It just brings more awareness to that event. And it's a lot of fun working with these other clubs. And, the camaraderie is fantastic, and the takeaways from it. I talked about this 5 or 6 times while I was down there at Crossroads that, you watch these people on social media, almost every day. Like Sam Jones or Jim Strunk, one of those guys, for example, I see their posts literally every single day, multiple times a day. It's like, we should be best friends or we're family. I see you guys that much, but to finally get down there and meet these people, like that was amazing. I'm a fan of what they do.
I don't know about Sam Jones. Sam Jones, that one's kind of questionable. Strunk, he's okay,
But just to finally meet these people, from seeing them on social media 7 days a week, it's like, all right, that's really cool. It's to see all of our different clubs and stuff coming together for one big event. And I just thought that was a really cool takeaway from like the Crossroads format, was getting to finally meet a lot of these people, because we're all here in the Midwest. So, you feel like you know them already, but it's cool to finally actually get to meet the person.
I completely agree. I mean, you could probably agree with this too. Like, we'll talk to somebody on a podcast for an hour and then you actually meet them in person and you're like, whoa, that's not what I expected. Like, oh, that was kind of neat. Like I remember we did a podcast with Drew Gregory and then I saw him at that KBF FLW Open last year. And I'm like, wow, Drew, you're short, dude. I love you, Drew. Me and Drew are homies.
Yeah, you're like
it's
a giant. So
yeah, that's true too. But no, it's cool, man. Being able to put the name with the face and the personality, for sure. I totally get where you're coming from. For sure. Well, gentlemen, we're a little over the hour mark. We'll give you guys the floor to give a shout out, let people know where they can find MKT and the Topwater Series and so that way they can dig in for next season, man.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, social media for sure.
I'm off the clock.
Social media is our biggest friend, right? Definitely find us on Facebook at the Topwater Series, Topwater Series Facebook page. That's where we really promote a lot of our events. Right now, we're going through our Angler Appreciation Series, where we're spotlighting all of our individual anglers throughout the season and their accomplishments. So you'll see a lot of that over the next week getting posted and highlighting their accolades. And we have another Facebook page just called Topwater. Topwater is where we stream all of our podcasts and things like that, all of the film work and stuff that we'll be getting into here shortly. That'll all be on that Facebook page. Of course, the website is topwaterseries.com. If you've been to the website recently, hold on tight. We've got a whole new website being released here shortly. We've spent some time redesigning that and really proud of how that turned out. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be unveiling that new website. We've got all kinds of stuff in the works, some really cool projects, some side projects that'll all tie back into the series that we can't really get into just yet, but hang tight, man. We got some cool stuff coming down the pipe.
I like it. I like it.
Sure.
Anything else, Mr. Randall?
no, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. It was good talking to
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. And
Yeah.
hopefully we'll all be doing a show together over on Topwater in another few weeks here. So.
Hey, I told you guys before we started, dude, I want to be sitting right next to my phone waiting for the phone call. So
Heck yeah.
you don't have to threaten me with a good time. Just saying.
I'll have Mike get in touch with you guys, so he does all that stuff.
Hey, have your people call my people. We'll do lunch.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we much appreciate it, man. Everybody that tuned in and listened tonight, thank you so much. And for those of you listening on the podcast the day after, be sure to go check out these guys at all the social media, websites, everything. It was so much I can't remember it all. So if you have to rewind about 3-4 minutes and re-listen to everything Mike just told you. So
You got it.
awesome. Until next time, guys and girls, tight lines, smooth paddling. Peace.